Good morning, I'm Nikki Sizemore and I'm so happy to be back taking over the Feedfeed Snapchat. Today I'm going to be making savory chickpea waffles. They are gluten-free, they're vegan, and they're the easiest waffles you'll ever make. First, a little about me. I am a recipe developer, a writer, a cookbook author, and I have a blog called From Scratch Fast. The recipe I'm going to be making today is actually on the blog, and it even includes a video, step-by-step video, if you want to watch that if you missed some of the snaps. Now, before I get started on the waffles, I'm actually going to make some crispy chickpeas, which I'm going to sprinkle over the waffles when they're Chickpeas are so good on their own as a snack. I have 2 kids and my 1.5-year-old eats them like a chipmunk. She like stuffs them in her cheek. They're really good, and on salads. Now all I've done to start is drained a can of chickpeas and then patted them dry with paper towel. Now I'm going to transfer the chickpeas to a small baking sheet that I've lined with foil. That's just going to make for an easy. Okay, now it's time to season them up, and you can get really creative here. I'm going to use some smoked paprika, which I love, a little bit of that barbecue flavor. I also have a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then just a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar to balance out the spices. Now I'm going to season these really generously with salt and pepper. I used unsalted chickpeas, so I'm going fairly heavy with the salt, but if yours aren't unsalted, if your chickpeas aren't unsalted, just go a little lighter. You can always season them when they come out of the oven. Now I'm just going to crack some pepper, but I need 2 hands for that. I tossed the chickpeas and all those spices, and now I'm just going to drizzle them with a tablespoon of olive oil, and then I'll give them another toss until they're evenly coated. Okay, these are now ready for the oven, and they smell so good. The flavor is kind of like a barbecue chip, you know, with that smoky, sweet, salty thing. All right, I'm going to toss these into a 450-degree oven for about 15 minutes, and we'll just give them a shake every now and then while they bake. Okay, while the chickpeas roast, I'm going to get started on the batter for our waffle. Here are the ingredients. We need garbanzo bean flour, sometimes called chickpea flour, olive oil, water, and salt. That's it. This is essentially a soca batter. Soca is a large pancake from Provence, originated in Provence, that's usually served as an appetizer. I'm going to pause really quickly and give my chickpeas a little shake. All right, back in the oven. All right, back to the waffles. So we're essentially taking that soca batter and we're going to make waffles out of it. Now the first thing we need, oh, that is super bright. Sorry guys. Okay, that's better. We need 2 cups, which is 7 ounces of this chickpea or garbanzo bean flour. And don't worry, I'll be sharing screenshots of all of the measurements at the end. Now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 2 cups of water, and 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And that's it. Now, if you want, you can add a pinch of sugar, and that's just going to sweeten this up just slightly. Now I'm just going to whisk this until it is completely smooth. Voila, the batter's done. Now there's just one trick to this recipe. The batter does have to rest for an hour, but it can rest for up to 9 hours. So what I do is I make the batter in the morning after breakfast. It's really quick to make, as you can see, and then I just let it sit on the counter all day long until dinner. Now I just pulled the chickpeas out of the oven, and I'm just going to season them with a little more salt. And these are ready to go. All right, I just kind of pulled a juniper. My daughter stuffed a bunch of chickpeas in my mouth. They're really good. So I know that I said that the chickpea batter has to rest for an hour, which it does. All of that flour needs to absorb all that liquid. You can see how loose it is. But guess what? I made a batch this morning, so we don't have to wait. So we are ready to go over to our waffle iron. So even though I was super prepared and made the batter, I totally forgot to preheat my waffle iron. So we'll just give this a minute. But in the meantime, let's talk waffle. I'm going to be using a Belgian waffle maker today, which is what we have, but you can use a regular waffle maker as well, whatever you have, or you can even cook it in a cast iron skillet. I'm just going to cook these on moderate heat. This is going to be on the setting 5. And before I add the batter, I'm gonna give it a spray with cooking spray, or you could brush the waffle iron with olive oil. Okay, so now it's just time to add the batter, and I'm not gonna add a lot. You don't wanna make them too thick. You don't wanna make them too thick, otherwise they won't get really crispy. All right, that's good. See ya. Beautiful. Okay, the first batch is ready to pull out, and I'm just gonna do that with 2 hands, but I'll show you when they're done. Oh man, you can see how crispy they are, but they're really tender on the inside. Now you have a few options for serving at this point. Now you can serve them on their own right out of the waffle maker. It makes for a really delicious appetizer with cocktails, or a side dish to things like meat and fish. Or you can turn them into a vegetarian main course, which is what I'm gonna do today. But first, let's cook off that other batch. So I did the exact same thing. I sprayed it down, and then now I'm just gonna shut and let them cook up. Now while the second batch cooks up, I'm gonna get started on the topping. I'm gonna do something really simple, sauteing up some spinach. So I've got some garlic and olive oil in my pan. Now the garlic is smelling amazing, so I know it's time to add my spinach. Season this with some salt and pepper. And then I'm just gonna toss it up until the spinach is sauteed. Now I'm just gonna finish the spinach off with some fresh lemon juice, really bright. You can top these waffles with nearly anything. Think any vegetable that's in season that you can saute or roast. I can't wait for the fall, roasted squash, root vegetable. In the spring, I was really into asparagus and mushrooms. Right now, I'm just using up a bunch of greens that we have in our garden and from the farmer's market. Okay, the second batch is out, and we're ready to serve. So today, I'm gonna take some of that spinach that we sauteed up. It's still nice and steamy. That'll go right on top of the waffles. And then I'm gonna add a little dollop of yogurt for some creaminess, but you can absolutely omit this and keep it vegan, or even do a vegan yogurt. We also often do fried eggs instead of the yogurt. And then last but not least, a generous sprinkle of those crispy chickpeas. I really wish you guys were able to join me for lunch. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please come and track me down. And remember, if you want to take over the Feedfeed Snapchat, just send them a snap. Bye guys, have a great Tuesday.